day or something, but please give the argument. I'm asking for the argument for P1 and P2.
Did you give me an argument that I'm supposed to respond to?
What's the argument for P1 and P2?
Oh, this is a question.
What's the argument for P1 and P2?
Did you mistake
What's the argument for P1 and P2? What's the argument for P1 and P2? Stop running away, Divinity. Stop running away, Divinity. What's the argument? Like, oh my God, I have me lowered on my own rec, and I can hear you rambling. This is bad.
I'm rambling?
This is so bad for you. I can hear you rambling under my mic. Are you getting dominated that bad? What's the argument?
I can hear you rambling under my mic.
Correct. Because you're getting drowned out by my mic, but I can still hear you rambling because I lower myself on my recording. So
really
what's the response? I'm sorry, what's the response?
I was giving you the response, but you interrupted me earlier.
You were not giving me the response to the initial question. What you were doing was rambling.
Yeah, so given that, what it means to be...
Given what? I'm sorry, I don't know what that is, since multiple things have been said, retard.
Oh, so it's almost like you need clarity?
Just to be clear, if multiple things have been said, and then you use a lack of clarity when it comes to a word, obviously, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Right? It wouldn't have been solved by me.
Look, I don't know where you are, if you're going to use your terrible mic as an excuse to why you lost this debate, but please fix what the fuck that background noise is.
What?
The background noise is like, I don't even know what's going on currently with your background noise.
It's not me, bro.
Okay, whoever that is, please mute them hard. It's Kimura. Kimura, mute your mic.
All right, we continuing this? Yeah, so look, Infinity, so given that what it...
Don't call my name.
So rhetorical. Oh my God. Look, given that a good normative theory just simply is a theory which has an established, grounding to it, presumably that's what you mean by good.
Look, so just to be clear, one, I was muted. Look, I don't know if that was you because you're scared to debate me or something. Secondly, I'm going to let you respond, but let me clarify something. The argument I asked for was the initial P1. The new P1 is something you can hedge to if you're scared to defend the initial P1. But you know what? Sure. Just for the sake of substance, let's talk about the new argument you're giving currently. So what's the argument for P2 specifically? Go ahead.
Story about me making a different argument.
What's the argument for P2? Obviously, your retard is going to believe it's a fictitious story.
You interjected to say that I should continue doing what I'm doing.
I interjected to call you retarded. What's the argument for P2?
In the interest of substance, by the way. Are you conceding premise one?
What's the argument for P2?
Are you just conceding premise one?
Oh, you're good, goons. Also, there is no concession to P1. I'm agreeing to P1, which wasn't initially said before. The initial P1 I had a question is distinct from the P1 you're verbally giving now because you're afraid to defend the original position you gave. So, moving on to the substance, because everybody wants to see you get slayed rhetorically and substantially. What's the argument for P1? What's the argument for P1? What's the argument for P1 and P2? I apologize, P2.
Wonder, not again, bro. Anyway,
what's the argument for P2?
You remember P2?
What's the argument for P2? You keep on doing this, bro. I don't know if you're stalling because you're searching for ChatGPT for arguments or something, but what's the argument?
The argument for P2,
is it the case? Okay, go ahead.
Hold on, I'm telling you. The argument for P2 is that the fundamental properties established in our meta-ethical account of good are possessed.
What's the meta-ethical account, real quick? Repeat it.
The hedonic moral authority account.
Okay, continue.
Right. Those characteristics of goodness are only possessed by the rational egoist normative theory.
Why is that?
Why is that the case? Because the other theories...
Yes, correct. That's the question. I don't know if you're one of these retard debaters have to repeat every single thing that's said after it was fucking said. Please respond to the question. So why is it the case? Hold on. Why is it the case that that's connected? Go ahead.
By why do you mean how do I know that? Or do you mean why is it the case that other theories don't?
Why is it true, dumbass?
In terms of truth making or the justification for the view?
The justification for the view.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's a reductio ad absurdum to the other normative ethical views. So
which is? How is the other normative ethical views absurd?
It's a reductio ad absurdum in regard to whether or not they would possess... Okay, so a reductio ad absurdum is a proof by contradiction.
Look, I know what a reductio ad absurdum is, and that's... Wait, hold on, just to be clear. It is not the case... Wait, let me finish. It is not the case... Hold on, it is not the case. That's retarded. Hold on. Look, I understand that you're going to try to cut me off because there's a ramble fest there, but that isn't what a reductio ad absurdum is restricted to. It's not the case that a reductio... Oh, I'm sorry, let me finish. It is not the case that a reductio is restricted to a contradiction. That is not the case at all. So when you say that it's reducible to a contradiction... Hold on, just to be clear. Is that not the claim you just made?
That's absurd.
Wait, so just to be clear, it is the case that you just made the claim about restriction when it comes to reductio relative to a contradiction. It does not have to follow that a reductio is restricted to a contradiction.
It doesn't have to be restricted to a contradiction. But like if you
it
had
doesn't
like
have to be. That's the claim. What you said initially, which you're now backing away from because you realized you were retarded, is that there was restriction, or at least you said a reductio talks about a contradiction.
If you had like any semblance of sense, you'd interpret my reductio ad absurdum as like a proof by contradiction.
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe you're retarded, but you said a reductio is approved by contradiction. You did not say your reductio was approved by contradiction. I'm just clarifying for the future of the debate that the reductio
like,
is not restricted to approved by contradiction. So like, I don't understand if you're trying to ramble under me, but please respond to the argument.
Oh, I'm responding to an argument or a question? Blunder.
Just to be clear, look, what I said was, hold on. I did give a point about a reductio not being restricted to approved by contradiction. You sound like a squeaker, my nigga. Respond to the argument. This is not rhetorical at all.
Hold on.
So is it the case that you're going to respond to the point?
Wait, am I responding to a question or an argument?
Oh, I'm sorry. You can respond to both.
Oh, you gave me an argument to respond to? Oh, let me respond
to that. I gave you a point to respond to, so please respond to the point.
Wait, you gave me an argument? What argument do I need to respond to?
I'm sorry. So look, I already repeated it. Maybe you weren't listening. This is the last time I'm going to repeat it because this is the fourth or third time. The point that I gave was not the case that a reductio is restricted to approved by contradiction. Do you disagree with that? That's the claim currently. The conclusion is what I just said, dumbass. I just told you I'm not going to repeat it for the fifth time or the fourth time.
The fifth or fourth time.
Oh correct. That is what I said. I'm glad you're able to recognize what came out of my mouth for the first time. Now you track that one. Please respond to the point. You commenting on how there's a rhetorical backshot that's present in the air doesn't mean that there isn't one, dumbass.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and give you the argument.
I'm glad that you're finally moving on from that point because you realize you're going to get slammed. Go ahead.
How dare you focus on the meta I brought up? How dare you?
How dare you? I give a point that I can't respond to because I'm so ass. Respond to the fuck argument, my nigga. You're terrible.
All right, so we can
just laugh is crazy. That shit added nothing.
Talking to Mr. Meta right now, bro. Oh my god.
You're talking to a nigga who's slamming you currently. What's the argument?
Did you like the silence after you stopped talking? Like, were you satisfied with your answer there?
No, actually, I wasn't silent.
I'm not gonna lie, we all kind of muted, bro.
No, I did not like the silence actually because I love my voice, which is why I keep talking. Please respond to the argument. I hope you know you commenting on how you didn't speak after I spoke doesn't do anything.
Can we get like mid?
Look, did you think you commenting on how there was silence after there was a lack of speaking is rhetorical? Oh, okay. Give the point.
Look, so we're going to go ahead.
There's no intuition there.
Go ahead and continue with the argument. Right? There's no intuition.
Yeah, I would hope so. So what's the disagreement when it comes to my point? I know, bro, like it's so retarded. Half of the VC plus is fucking muted. Obviously, if you don't talk to seem rhetorical, then there's going to be silence. And that's what occurs when somebody's not talking. So I'm going to ask you once again, what's the response to the points and the question?
You have an understanding.
Wait, hold on. So is it the case that I'm less of a genius because I pointed that out, or that you're less of a genius for talking about how there was silence in a one-on-one interaction when everybody else is muted? Which one?
Is it the case that you're going to want me to respond to an argument, or is
it the case that you're going to respond to the question, or are you going to move on because you're retarded? I'm talking to you, Divinity, if you didn't know. You know the one-on-one that we're having? Do you think you look good currently, Divinity?
You think about what you say before you say it, bro.
Do you think you look good currently?
You think about it. You think about what comes out.
Look, I'm sorry. There was a fake laugh there because you realized you were about to stutter. Do you think you look good currently?
I like how you tried to psychoanalyze me and lie about what I'm doing in the conversation and literally.
Wait, that wasn't a lie. Just to be clear, I'm just pointing out something that occurred. Look, can you please respond? Everybody in chat is pointing out how you're getting rhetorically slammed.
Look how I clearly caught you lying. That's why your demeanor changed immediately.
Wait, what's the lie? What lie?
It continues to fucking change. You continue to get your.
I'm sorry. What's the lie?
Where's the lie? Where's the lie?
Wait, so is it the case that you can point out a lie or not? I'm actually getting excited because you're getting slammed. Look, Careless, I hope you watch this debate. Look, Careless, I know you're new to debate, Careless. This is not a good example of how you should debate. This is not a good example of how you should debate, Careless. Make sure you do not take up after Divinity. So we're going to move on from this point. What is the lie that I told you?
Guys! My performance in the debate.
Wait, just calm down real quick. People are requesting moderation. Let's just get back to the substance.
No one requested moderation, bro.
Wait,
literally not one of us said moderation.
Not a singular person in chat is saying.
Look, I don't know if you're trying to say Divinity. Look, I don't know if you're like Divinity's protector or something. You're supposed to be his Maharaga or something. But applying moderation when nobody in chat asks for that does not do anything. So this is what we're going to do. Look, Divinity, what is the lie I told you? What is the answer to the initial question I asked you? And then finally, what is your response to the point that I repeated 4 or 5 times? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually told you the lie that you said to everyone, and the lie was
I'm sorry, that was not coherent at all when it comes to that sentence. Please repeat that.
My sentence wasn't coherent.
Wow! It's almost like I just said that 0.1 second prior.
Hey, just like
so what's the sentence there? I'm sorry. So what's the sentence there? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What was the sentence there? I'm sorry. What was the sentence there?
A lie was all the psychoanalytic meta you tried doing.
Wait, hold on. Hey, can you give it a specific example, please?
Fuck, this is like literally my point.
Can you please give an example
of the psychoanalytic lying?
Wait, hold on. So the lie is the psychoanalytic
lie. Why are you
so
fucking hyper right now? Just calm down. Like
the reason why I'm hyper is because I love beating up retards. I already told you I was hyper.
Excited?
Look, I'm actually excited for 2 reasons. One, I'm beating up a retard, and then secondly, I'm having my students. Look, I'm having my students witness the opposite of a good debater. You are the opposite of a perfect debater. You're imperfection. You are terrible. So careless. Mono, make sure y'all take notes. Is Zinni here? Is Zinni here? Zinni, make sure you point notes. Wait, hold on. Make sure you take notes, Zinni. Please. So look, this is what we're going to do, Divinity. What are your responses to the 3 things that are currently laid on the table?
I just responded.
Thank you, Careless. Divinity, how do you feel that you're a perfect role model for the worst debater in com besides Haram SpongeBob? How do you feel? Oh, I'm sorry. Was that a mute that you just did?
Sorry, I got called. What'd you say?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You got called because you couldn't respond. Look, give the argument. Hello? I'm talking to you if you didn't know.
What did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you got another call apparently. Yeah, I didn't know. What's the response? Look, what's the response? It's the same thing that I've asked prior to you getting these random made-up calls.
What?
Hello? Did you get a call that time too?
You think I'm lying about
Look, I don't know if you're like lying or something to get out of this, but please respond. So it seems like my initial question was answered. The initial question was the following. Is it the case that you got worse due to hanging around people like Gabe and shit? I think the answer is pretty obviously yes. You are terrible currently. So I'm going to ask you once again, what's the argument? Please, I have to pronounce it differently.
Look, I'm moving to substance, man. I don't know why you're so obsessed with that.
I'm trying to get to substance, but you're not responding to the 3 points currently locked on.
You think that the conversation about me lying was substantive?
Yes, I actually do.
That's because you're a fucking retard. And if you knew what substance was, you would
I'm sorry, just to be clear. You calling me a retard does not mean that there's no substance there. I'm asking for the point. Look. I know what you're going to do. You're going to have your biased friends book. Hold on. I agree. You're going to have your biased friends lock and watch over the recording after this just so you can have a vouch. But please respond to the point.
Bro, you were begging to talk to me and this is how you perform, bro. You perform
I'm begging to talk to me. Wait, hold on. You think me asking to debate is me begging?
I poked a meta jab and you just can't resist it, bro. Like a moth to the flame. I pick a little jab at your character and you got to respond to it. So let's move back to substance, okay? Just toughen up, tough guy, okay? So look, I told you that the argument.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I wanted to give you a chance for the rhetoric, and you literally just failed so poorly. Yo, everybody heard me give him a chance. His own little interview, his own little podcast section to speak, and it was so bad. So nobody can make the excuse that the only reason why he performed rhetorically bad is because I was speaking over him, because I just gave him his own little section. Did you find that amusing? Did you think? Did you think you did something good, Divinity? Divinity, do you think you did something good there?
Look,
okay, so I'm gonna assume no. Okay. So what's the response?
The substance.
To the 3 points currently laid on the question or on the table. I apologize.
Like shotgunning like irrelevant points.
Wait, just clear. There was no shotgun. A shotgun by definition requires intention, or else there's no reason for it to be fallacious. You cannot justify my intention to overwhelm you. Look, if it is the case that you can't, if it is the case that you can't respond to 3 points or track 3 points, then you're retarded. I debate Apollo all the time. Apollo, is it not the case? Answer in chat that you're able to track more than 5 points. Do we not have more than 5 points that we have?
Not what.
Each fucking conversation.
By appealing to,
why is it the case that every other debater is able to track more than 3 points at once, but you're not? Apparently, you're supposed to be the person who beat the best debater in the fucking com, right? You're supposed to be the best, right? Careless can track 3 points. Zinni can track 3 points. Archie can track 20 points. But why can't you?
Just let me
because you're ass. Respond to the point.
Bro. I'm good. I'm good. You want to talk about substance?
No. Respond to the points.
The points on meta?
The 3 points laid on the table. If you want to drop the meta points, quote unquote, then you can do that. If you want to drop the quote unquote meta points because you're trying to run away, go ahead.
I'm trying to run away from meta, the meta which you find substantive.
I said quote unquote, obviously, so that entails I probably don't believe they're meta points. But if you want to call the meta as an excuse to why you cannot fucking attack them, then you can say that.
About what I'm thinking in the middle of the conversation is substantive.
Look, I'm sorry. One, you're asking the most retarded questions. Secondly, you're labeling something as meta as an excuse to run away. Thirdly, I'm still waiting for your responses to the points on the table.
You think that conversation about my psychological?
I think everything that's in my mind. Look, so what's the argument?
Argument for what?
So It's obviously going to be an argument for which I questioned initially. What's the argument for P2? What's the answer to my question? And do you have a response to the point I brought up about the reductio?
You want me to give you an argument?
What is the argument as to why every normative ethical view is reduced to absurdity? Additionally, do you have a disagreement with reductios not being restricted to prove by contradictions?
Do you remember how I defined?
Is it the case? Hold on. Look, just be clear. The point I gave was the following. Look, listen, please. I'm going to stop, quote unquote, yelling by whatever your metric is. I'm going to ask you this question. Do you recall the claim I made about reductios?
Yeah, it was like a really bad point.
I'm sorry. Okay, so what was the claim I made?
Yeah, so the point you made was that after I said the proof was a reductio ad absurdum, you said, what makes the other views absurd? And then I explained to you that.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. That was a question. That was a question, not the claim I made. I asked you to repeat the claim I made. So what was the claim I made about reductio specifically?
Do you recall how I made the point you made? And then
what's the argument? Or I apologize. What's the point that I gave? Do you recall it? If you don't, then just say that. You don't have to be embarrassed because you have a lack of tracking. You know what? I'm going to go on mute, by the way. Look, go ahead.
That was a good move, man. Yeah, you made some point about how.
So I gave you a second to speak, and you start off with a shitty rhetorical jab. Look, go ahead. I'm gonna give you a 5-second interval.
You cannot help yourself, bro. Oh my god.
Correct. Why would I have my students in VC listen to a retard make retard claims? What the fuck? Hold on. Wait, do you think it's rational to have my students in here and listen to retarded claims?
Talking about students, bro.
Hold on. Do you think it's rational to have my students in here listen to someone make retarded claims because they might repeat the claims?
What do your postgraduate plans look like, Infinity?
What is he talking about? Look, I don't know if you're trying to talk about random shit because you're stun locked or something. What's the point? Okay, can we go back to abortion? Can you respond to the 3 points? So look, for everybody in VC, the current question, what is the argument as to why there exists reductios for all normative ethical views besides egoism? Secondly, I don't believe reductios are restricted to a proof by contradiction, which is the claim that he just made. And then finally, it just seems to be the case that he has no actual argument. Go ahead.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so I don't...
Is that the response?
It's called a preposition, but you know that if you hit English class a couple of times a week, right? So
I'm sorry, that was a step.
They're forgiven. Look, I understand that whenever I say that there's a reductio ad absurdum, I'm not saying...
Well, I would hope that you understand whatever you say. Why else would you say it? What's the point, brother? Please preface your conversation or your starting point with something that's actually relevant.
I
understand that whenever I say, like, obviously, bro, give the point.
Preface the starting point with the starting point. You're a genius, bro.
That's not what I said.
It's implied from what you said.
That's like, not what's implied at all. Can you please get back to the substance? It's funny how you want to go back to substance, but you keep on talking about irrelevant points. Please talk about what you were going to talk about. Go ahead.
Don't you find it kind of funny that every time I talk about substance, you go back to meta immediately?
Was that supposed to do something?
Substance free. Never mind. You're confused on what the two are. That explains that. Look, so...
anyways, that shit was so ass. Like I let you get points of interval because you can't speak over me because you're not a man, and then you just ruined it. You embarrass yourself. It's the case. You want me to spell what? Interval? INTERVAL. Retard.
Oh, this is really bad for you, bro.
Wait, hold on. So, is it the case that I misspelled interval, or did you just say that because you realized I spelled it correctly?
You're a genius, bro.
How did I misspell it? Interval? I literally just spelled it. INTERVAL. Or maybe I misspoke and said an E instead of the I. Did I misspeak and say the E? Wait, hold on. Did I misspeak and say an E instead of an I? Is that the case?
You've been trying desperately to talk away from the substance and talk about how you...
Wait, no, I'm asking. Is it the case that I misspoke?
No, actually spell interval for the third time, bro. I didn't hear you.
Wait, is it the case that I misspoke and said an E instead of an I?
I'm really happy that it's important to you that you make it known that you can spell interval.
Wait, you asked me the question, so if you don't believe it's important, why would you ask me?
Yeah, but you also asked me a question and interrupted me, right?
Wait, so hold on. Apollo, if it's not the case that I misspoke and said... Hold on, if it's not the case that I misspoke and said E instead of I, then why are they laughing? Specifically him.
Just let me know when you want me to talk about substance, okay?
I've been asking you this entire time.
No, you haven't, but look...
I have actually.
So on the reductio ad absurdum, just so we don't get this confusion continuing forward, when I say that my view is proved via a reductio ad absurdum, I'm not making a statement or a commitment to saying that reductio ad absurdum exclusively talks about a proof by contradiction relative.
I agree. You said, hold on,
Right.
initially, hold on, the claim, hold on. I agree when you say it like that. But the initial claim, I'm sorry, I don't think I was done. The initial claim was that a reductio is a proof by contradiction, not that and a reductio are different. That's a different sentence. Just to be clear, when you say the reductio is a proof by contradiction, and we say a reductio is a proof by contradiction, those are distinct. Now, what's the argument as to why every other is an explanation of clarity, or is it the case that the paper is an explanation of truth?
It's both.
So send that, please. That's all you had to say. That was the question.
You want to read the 21-minute paper right now for everyone?
No, I would like you to send the argument.
The argument is the paper, retard.
Yeah, I'm asking you to obviously fucking formalize it or type it out in chat.
I'm not going to formalize the entirety of a paper for you. I can just deliver the argument to you verbally, and you can understand it.
Go ahead. That's why I asked if you had it typed out.
I was, and then you said, "Do you have a typo?" Like you need to see it in front of you because
maybe you're retarded. You just repeated what I said. Correct. Because obviously you don't have any. You know what? Just go.
I'm mocking you.
Look. Just go before you make excuses about there not being any substance. Give the fucking argument.
Right. So I just gave a reductio on one of the views in the metaethical or the moral.
I'm sorry. What was the reductio there?
On the relaxed views.
Go ahead.
I just gave it to you. Were you there?
Maybe you weren't listening, so I'm going to ask again. I'm sorry. What were the reductios? I'm sorry. What did? I'm sorry. Wait, I don't think I'm done. What were the reductios?
Was this one of those moments where you understood it but didn't recall it?
I'm sorry, what were the reductios? Also, I never said there was a single moment in this debate where I didn't recall something or I didn't understand it. What I said was just because I potentially not. Hold on. What I said was just because I don't potentially recall something doesn't mean that there's a lack of understanding or even existing understanding. That's what I said. So I'm asking, what's the argument? Hold on. I'm sorry. What was the reductio towards the relaxed views? Because what you said was me saying that there's a reductio doesn't mean that there's a proof by contradiction, even though that's what you hedged initially. So what was the reductio towards the lax views? I don't recall any reductio given at all, actually.
Do you understand it or do you recall it?
I'm sorry, what was the reductio given towards the relaxed views?
Are you saying that because you didn't hear it or because you didn't understand it?
Oh my God.
Is it the case that there was a is it the case that there's a reductio given to the relaxed views?
Yeah, I gave it earlier.
Okay, then I obviously didn't hear it, maybe if there was one.
I clearly didn't hear it, maybe if there was one.
That's not what I said. Bro. I said I obviously didn't hear it. Maybe if there was one, maybe I did hear it, but I didn't just see it as a reductio. So do you believe it's the case that you could have gave a reductio, but I don't see it as a reductio because it's retarded. Therefore, I might not acknowledge it as a reductio. Is it the case? Is it the case that there may exist a reductio in which is a reductio in your view, but I don't acknowledge it as a reductio?
Right. Yeah.
So yes, the answer is obviously yes. Because you're scared to answer because it's going to defeat your rhetorical jab, the answer is yes. Correct. Yes. Just because there exists a reductio under your view doesn't mean I consider a reductio. Therefore, there can be a lack of acknowledgement of a reductio given. Now, what's the argument?
Fucking transcribe this and put it back in front of them, bro.
What's the argument, bro? What's the reductio?
I gave you the reductio. I'll give it to you again.
I don't believe you did.
I grant that you don't believe that because you're retarded and you wouldn't believe it given that you're
I'm sorry, that is retarded as fuck. Give the point?
It is retarded as fuck that you don't remember what I said to you. I agree.
No, I'm saying you are retarded for trying to comment on someone's memory, even though I just gave the possibility of me acknowledging the fact that there is something that exists, but not acknowledging that there's a reductio. So is it the case, Divinity? Look. Okay, look, I was actually being charitable so you didn't embarrass yourself prior. So I'm going to ask you again, and I want you to answer this. Don't run away like all your friends do. Is it the case that there can be an existing reductio that you gave verbally under your view, but I don't acknowledge it as a reductio?
So is that what's happening right now?
The answer is yes. Again. So what is the reductio?
You don't take what
towards
I said
the relaxed views.
Do
you think you've justified your position so far?
Yeah, insofar as you've allowed me to speak, yep.
Hold on. So do you believe it is true? The claim relative to egoism, do you believe it's true?
The claim relative to holy shit, bro. You cannot speak.
The claim that you made relatively to egoism's truthfulness, do you believe it has been justified so far?
Right, you achieve another level of retard whenever you start typing because you speak the way
I'm not even typing, retard. Your rhetorical job doesn't even apply to me because I'm not even the one typing. So what's the argument?
Look, man. Is you take it to be the case that the explanation I gave
I'm looking, I don't see any argument.
Is that because you don't understand it or you don't think it's a reductio?
If I don't see an argument, that has nothing to do with understanding. It's just the case that, hold on, just to be clear, are you going to give the point?
I gave you the point. Now I'm asking you, is your contention?
I don't believe you did. So repeat the reductio if you believe you gave it.
Hold on, dude. You put some rhetorical roadblocks in the road, right? I'm trying to clear them out.
What are you talking about, bro? That shit is so ass, bro. Give the reductio,
is it
please.
the case that you did not hear me? Did you not understand me? Or did you understand me and you
just so look, maybe you weren't listening. I'm going to say this again. There's multiple alternatives. It could be the case that I didn't hear you. It could be the case that you gave a retarded argument or view. However, I didn't acknowledge it as a reductio because it is the case that it doesn't follow that as a reductio. So is it the case that it's possible, because I've already answered this question, but maybe you didn't track. Is it the case that it could be possible that you gave a reductio under your view, but I don't acknowledge it as one?
So which reality are we living in?
Look, since you're running away from the question, let's ask someone else. Can someone make a poll, specifically you, Zinni? Send the poll. Is it the case? Hold on. Hey, Zinni, create a poll. Is it the case that it's possible? Hold on. Is it the case that it's possible for a reductio to exist, but me not acknowledge it as a reductio because it's obviously a retarded point?
I grant that's possible.
Since he doesn't want to get to the substance.
I'm not getting to substance right now.
Yes, the fake lab doesn't save you there. What's the argument?
Is that because you don't think it's an argument, or is that because you didn't hear it?
I think I've already answered this question.
You didn't actually. You just told me it's possible that
look. It's just the case that everybody in chat believes that you're getting embarrassed currently, which is why the poll is you losing. And yes, it's possible that the poll is true.
It's possible.
So what's the point? Like I have to act like a retard when I'm debating you because you don't understand basic shit.
So do you take the explanation I gave to be a reductio, or do you not understand the explanation I gave?
The entire point is I can't determine whether or not an explanation exists, because if it was an explanation that existed, in which would be determined as a reductio under your view, I wouldn't consider it or acknowledge it as one, or I didn't hear it. I believe it's the latter, obviously.
I think with how wonderful.
And I think you're retarded. So what's the reductio?
As in, like, what's the explanation?
Hello, I'm talking to you if you didn't know. What's the reductio?
What is your question aimed at?
What is the reductio that you gave towards the relaxed views?
Are you wonderful? Because relaxed views are going to say that, moral properties and morality.
I'm sorry, I wasn't answering any question that you gave. If that's what you believe. So what was the reductio towards the relaxed views? Because that's the comment you made.
What did you just interrupt me to say? Like, what could have possibly been the value?
You mean, what did I interrupt you to ask? Just be clear. What I asked was, what was the reductio? From an objective lens, but what's the reductio?
The reductio is that moral authority is real, and relaxed views wouldn't be able to account for its reality. The view is.
Wait, why? Hold on. Why is it the case that moral authority is real?
Because it's hedonic.
What's the connection?
To hedonism and reality?
Nope.
The connection between what then, retard? Like what?
The claim you made, retard, and then the conclusion you're trying to infer from the initial premise. Why is it the case that those two things entail a reductio paired together? Additionally, if you would like to move to closing after this, it would not follow that your position is justified. Do you believe if we concluded right now that your claim overall is justified?
I don't think I've been allowed to fully explicate my view because you're
okay. Then please fully do it, bitch.
Are you gonna lock in and catch a bubble? Are you gonna patiently sit
Anyways,
there and wait?
I'm just gonna let the silence air that out. Please respond to the point.
Yeah, I was. You asked me a question, and now you're refusing to elaborate what the question was aimed at.
I'm sorry, I did elaborate, actually. It's just the case that you didn't understand the elaboration. So, what's the reductio? Yeah. Hold on. Just be clear. You gave the reductio again. What's the justification for the reductio actually entailing a contradiction? I'm sorry.
So, in other
without
words,
the assumptions that I don't grant.
Is reductio? What assumption are you not granting?
I'm not granting the assumption I talked about. Obviously, the connection.
Connection between what? Do you even know
between the conclusion and the claim, as I've said, retard?
What's the alleged contradiction that I'm trying to propose right now?
Oh my God. You're saying it's not the case, or you're saying it's the case that what you said is incompatible with reality, obviously.
Yeah, like what's the incompatibility, retard?
The incompatibility is between the fact that you talked about how moral authority will not be able to exist under this view. Cannot finish. The moral authority cannot exist under this view, and it would be incompatible with reality. That's the contradiction you were talking about.
Yeah, why would it be?
That was the claim in which you connected. So what's the argument as to why there's connection?
Why is it
I don't care about you reflecting questions and turning this into a Q&A on my end. I'm currently questioning your view. What's the point?
It's like very clear that the reason.
And when you ask me, just to be clear, when you ask me what's the incompatibility, I don't believe there's incompatibility, which is why I'm challenging the view, obviously.
That's why I said alleged.
So look, what's the point?
That's why I said alleged, retard. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know you said alleged, and I'm going to say I don't believe that alleged is relevant, dumbass. I'm not going to answer that.
Oh my
look,
God, bro.
look. I don't know if you're trying to get me to say your point so I can seem retarded and get clipped out of nowhere. Look, please respond.
It's still going.
I'm talking to you.
Hey man, I think this is a good point to move to
I'm
closing.
sorry. So what's the argument for egoism? It doesn't seem like your argument follows or your reductio entails a contradiction. Do you think hold on, do you think in some impossible world where you gave a question which was the following, where's the incompatibility on my end, in some impossible world where I failed to answer, do you believe your claim is justified?
Sorry, I got a call. You still going?
This nigga must be the president.
So do you believe in some impossible world where you ask a question which is the following, what's the incompatibility on my end, and I fail to answer? Is it the case that your claim is justified about egoism? Yes or no?
That was just like a fucking arbitrary semblance of words, man.
Wait, so just to be clear, is it the case that your claim about egoism is justified if the question you gave goes unanswered?
We're gonna move to closing, bro. Okay.
Look, so since you're scared to answer the question, the answer is obviously no. It is not the case that you justified the claim just because there's a lack of a response to the question, even though there is a response to the question actually. But we can conclude.
Yeah, okay, go for it, man.
So it seems to be the case. Like, I'm gonna give just a short summary. Throughout the entire debate, he was just getting rhetorically shit stomped. He was scared of the substance. He can say that I was scared of the substance, even though I let him speak during multiple intervals, and he just kept on saying bullshit, which is why I interrupted and made sure that he stayed on track. Every single time I asked, which you can go back to the recording, by the way, every single time I asked about the points that were laid about, or I apologize, the points that were put on the table, the 3 points at the start, actually, the question, the point about the reductio, and then the initial question that I asked. Every single thing went unanswered until the end of the debate, which he talked about there being an incompatibility with relaxed views, actually. And then I asked for the reductio, and he didn't justify after questioning the connection with the reductio and how it is actualized. He didn't justify the connection between the premise and then the conclusion, how that entails a contradiction, and then how that applies to reality. He didn't answer at all, actually. So it just seems to be the case that via everything that was argued, he did not give anything in which successfully, it successfully establishes his conclusion.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna keep this kind of short because I'm busy. I think anybody who has like any semblance of understanding of anything we're talking about knows that this guy just like arbitrarily threw a bunch of words together and just kept like interrupting me.
Do you think that's going to cause you to win?
How are you still unable to stop interrupting me?
Like, I'm sorry. Look, I'm not one of these retarded ass, shitty ass, fucking philo debaters you debate, nigga. Just because it's conclusions doesn't mean I'm going to let you speak.
Evidence and exemplification of the broader point that Infinity is unable to control his animalistic urges in the middle of a conversation, which is precisely why he's unable to give any substantive response to a single thing that I said. And why
this Infinity guy is an animal. Yo, everybody saw this dude. Hey, Saab Jonathan, bro. He obviously wants attention, bro. Hey, everybody Saab Jonathan, bro. He obviously wants attention. All right, finish your conclusion, retard.
Anyway,
are you done?
Animal.
Oh, Jonathan, are you happy you got the conclusion you wanted?
On the actual substance, bro. What? Can we get like a mod like muzzle the animal?
Yeah, that shit did not hit either. Do not mute me. You can conclude. I'm not going to overtalk you since you're so scared of my voice for some reason.
You say that and then you fucking behave like that. Anyway.
Anyways.
Look, I mean, on these substantive points, right? The only thing that was quote unquote substantive.
The reason why he's specific. Hold on. The reason why he's specifying that is because he admits to losing on every other point.
Bro. I can't even.
Go ahead.
Look, just let the fact he's interrupting me serve as the closing, bro. I think I've made the point. Thanks, guys.
Oh, okay. So is it the case that you believe you lost in every other facet of the debate because you keep on specifying the substance point? I'm going to assume that's a yes. Okay. Someone save the recording since he's pretending to be on mute because he doesn't want to give an answer. Okay, thank you. Yeah, maybe you're retarded, Vortex.